Proposition B.
Proposition B.
Proposition B.
Proposition B.
Proposition B is a lie.
They're liars.
You are supporting animal cruelty. We are called terrorists.
They really don't care about the care given to animals.
You've given nothing to these animals.
This is one thing that can take down America.
Your Prop B is going to hurt an awful lot of people.
When the voters went to vote on this, they had like a 2-paragraph synopsis of what the bill did, and it was like, do you think animals should have adequate food and water? Well, of course everybody feels like that.
Most people, whenever you ask, should we provide clean water and food for dogs, most people would answer, sure, yes we should. I believe we should, but that wasn't really what this bill was all about.
I know how the people of this state felt about agriculture, and it's one of our #1 industries in the state. And never before had I seen anybody attack that industry as much as I did to Proposition B.
Farmers were outraged to think that somebody could come in here and set ridiculous rules and regulations upon them that would impact their ability to be able to provide a living for their family.
Many of those provisions in Proposition B lacked common sense.
I found very problematic in Proposition B was the definition that they outlined as pet. They defined pet as a domesticated animal in or near the household.
If you had a court that was a liberal court and you've had a liberal interpretation of the law, you could argue that maybe domesticated animal could be a cattle or a chicken, and that would just been devastating to our agriculture industry.
One of the great ones was a temperature regimen that was applied universally across all breeds of dogs, regardless of hair coat. Temperature was to be maintained between 45 and 85 degrees.
In its essence, by the law, HSUS made it a misdemeanor to provide necessary veterinary care to raise a litter of newborn puppies, because the maximum temperature in Prop B was 85 degrees, yet in the first 2 weeks of life, it has to be above 95 degrees.
The other issues related to Proposition B that were disturbing was restriction of the size of operation regardless of the operator's discretion. No more than 50 dogs.
It's real easy then to draw that conclusion that 50 dogs equal 50 hogs or 50 sows or 50 cows.
When we thought about what that could do to our family farm, it was going to put us out of business. And if we were only able to own 50 head of livestock, there's no way that our family could survive.
When Proposition finally was passed, it passed by 51.7%, which is barely over 50%. There was a point when Proposition B early on was polling in the 70s and 80s when it first came out. But what really happened, more and more people were learning the truth about everything that was in Proposition B.
But 103 out of 114 counties said no way to Proposition B in Missouri. That's overwhelming.
This is not a repeal. I've always respected the vote of the people. But as legislators, our job, when we know something is wrong or is invalid, our job is to correct it.
Through the legislative process, you have public hearings, you have input, you have debate, you have discussion, of which none of that occurred on Proposition B.
Unlike Proposition B, the bill does not arbitrarily put every licensed breeder out of compliance. Instead, it recognizes that reputable breeders ought to be in business, while those that are not up to the standards ought to be put out of business. If we really want to get more bad breeders out of business and protect more dogs, then the legislation passed by the Senate is better than Proposition B.
And at the end of the day, the legislature spoke, and I think we made some really good changes.
When both sides were brought to the table to discuss this issue, it was agriculture, it was the Pet Breeding Association, it was the Missouri State Vet Vet's office was there, and also the Missouri Humane Society was there as well.
I've never seen quite a coalition like that ever work together before in the state.
Never seen a bill that was passed by the House and Senate signed by the governor the same day. I've just never seen it, and we may go a generation before we see it again. But I think it shows how government can work.
This was an absolutely important fight. This is helping to lay the groundwork of how other states can learn what we did to make sure HSUS doesn't come in and destroy their agriculture industries.
I don't think HSUS is going to stop with the pet industry here in Missouri. I think they're going to come back for livestock, because if I look at what they've done in the recent past with every other state, they come after agriculture and livestock. They were just using the pet industry as a way to get their foot in the door. HSUS is going to keep going until somebody stands up to them and actually gets the truth out there.
If they have their way, they will totally destroy our agriculture industry.
I think HSUS should look at this state and say, hey, people starting to catch on to us, you know. And so they should be extremely worried about going into another state, and they better be concerned about coming back into Missouri.